Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. I sometimes shy away from very serious topics because I don't want to get in trouble. But I do know that no matter what I say, people are just going to read the headline and say, yeah, that's what he said, so I'm just going to go with it. Sometimes it gets me into trouble, sometimes it does not. And that's why I try to do things very respectively. I try to do things as best as I can without stepping on anybody's toes or anything like that. Therefore, I try to stay away from serious topics such as this because everybody's got their opinions and they're dug their heels into the sand or into the dirt or what have you. Case in point, the COVID-19 cases. And everything has to do with coronavirus. Not only because it's a very serious topic and everybody's lost their minds over it, but because I think everybody's been talking about it, and you might want to go to a place where you don't have to hear about it all the time. However, I do believe that this deserves my input, because I do believe we're getting absolutely crazy when we talk about the issue of face coverings. Because I do believe we're losing our collective minds, even more so of talking about coronavirus as a whole, when we deal with what to do about it. And this is the one thing that's become quite a religion. Even conservative places are saying, hey, they work and people aren't wearing them because they're freaking lazy. What in the world? What are we doing here? And it is making people using cancel culture in order to deal with it. Because quite frankly, we don't know how to effectively talk about it in a way that is constructive. Because yes, social media is one of those places where we always have a constructive viewpoint about things. Hashtag sarcasm. The latest person to probably get canceled, although I don't know if she will or not, is Lana Del Ray, who has been caught wearing a mesh face mask for a meet and greet book signing event in Los Angeles. As you well know, California is one of the most stricter places as pertains to the lockdowns and the mask orders. Pennsylvania being another state that does that. However, they're getting kind of criticized for how far they're taking it. However, let's get into the story now. I've picked the Daily Mail online. I know it is a more conservative place, and they too have went all, hey, just wear a mask, what's the big deal? But this had the most nuanced and most unbiased point of view about all of this. There have been other outlets that reported on it, but I believe this is the one that has the most unbiased point of view about it. Because it says here, the singer, 35, wore a silver sparkly fishnet face covering which had holes in it to sign copies of her new poetry book, Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass. I keep saying the word violent here. Lana was in the special cordoned off area for the event at Barnes & Noble at the Grove in Los Angeles on Friday, although later appeared to take selfies with fans, which probably wasn't as social distance as many people would have liked. LA County has asked that everyone wears a cloth face covering when interacting with people out of their household in both public and private spaces. California has had a total of 828,000 confirmed cases and a little over 16,000 deaths during the pandemic. Fans were left furious over Lana's choice of face covering, with several calling it irresponsible as she was a danger to herself and others. Lana's sister, Chuck Grant, or Charlene Grant, was quick to hit back at furious social media users as she argued that the singer was more than 6 feet away and tested negative. Now, this was more or less the TLDR of it. Let's go through each one a little bit more in depth before we go into the details of it. First things first, as I said, California is one of the more stricter places right now that have the lockdowns and the facial covering mandates and stuff like that. And that's why a lot of people want to leave California. More specifically, Joe Rogan moved to Texas, or moved his stuff to Texas because of what was going on in California. It was getting a little bit crazy. There are people who are criticizing her for even holding this book signing event. However, if that was the case, that it was that much of a problem, I do believe the city of LA or the state of California would have said something about this, or at least Barnes & Noble, but they didn't feel as though it was a big deal, so I don't think it would be a big deal. Now, For some context, this is the face mask we're talking about here. This is a face mask that's getting everybody in an uproar. Now, there are some people who are saying that she was wearing something underneath, and you can probably see that here. It's pretty clear she is wearing something underneath of this. I don't know if it's covering the whole face, but there's something right clearly there. Now, for the record, I don't know what this guy is doing. I think I would be more concerned about whatever this guy's about to do, more than I would be concerned about whether or not she's wearing a face covering. Because I don't know what he's doing with this. I have to question where he's putting that, for one thing. Second of all, it looks like he's either ready to rob a bank or rob her blind. I have no idea what he's... I'll be more suspicious of him than I were of her. But the other thing, that face mesh covering is kind of ugly. Even if it were to protect me, I don't think I would wear that because, at the very least, if I would be wearing any mesh at all, it would probably be black. Because that's a little bit more appealing to the eyes than that. But that's the only crime I do think that she's committing here. Because it goes on, Singer 35, real name Elizabeth Woolridge Grant, wore a silver sparkly fishnet face covering, which had holes in it to sign copies of her new poetry book, Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass. No clue why she chooses the kind of titles she does for her works, but there you go. For the record, I am not quite familiar with her work. I do know she's a very popular celebrity. I do know that she did a cover of Sublime's Doing Time, and it's really well done. It's actually really good. But outside of that, I don't know much of anything else she's actually done. I do know she's pretty attractive, and I do know that she's not that big of a feminist, so take that for what it's worth, but we go on here. Of course, we read this before. She was in special cordon off area for the event. She read excerpts from her new tome, although she later appeared to take selfies with fans who shared the photographs on social media, and that what got people in a bit of an uproar here. Because, of course, Twitter had to do its thing, and good lord, Twitter. Oh, we're going to be talking about another place in social media that doesn't really get noticed a whole hell of a lot, and I hope that it does after this, because that is the biggest form of cancel culture around. And we're talking about Reddit, of course, but let's go to what people have said about the mask here. Lana wearing a mesh mask to an event for her poetry. WTF, so irresponsible. Of course, she's wearing something underneath of that. Can't believe Lana is actually wearing this mask to socially interact with people. Oh, the horror. This is so irresponsible. Oh, the horror to actually talk to people, to have social interaction with people. What the hell are you doing, Lana? How dare you actually do something that we as humans would actually want to do with one another? To actually talk to people, to actually have human interaction with other human beings. Lana is a grown woman and we shouldn't tell her what to do, but wearing hashtag that mask is dangerous for her and for others is very irresponsible. I have no idea why she decided to hashtag the word that outside of anything else. I have no idea. And also, if she is a grown woman, we shouldn't tell her what to do, then that should stop there. But wearing masks, then you're going to tell her what to do anyway. This, I don't get. This is a grammar Nazi's nightmare. No more girl, we're in the middle of a pandemic. One, it's irresponsible to do meet and greets, because how dare you have social interaction with anybody else in the middle of this. 2, your mask doesn't works! Question mark, 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 question mark. 3, why you took it off to read? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Bye. What? That's a grammar Nazi's absolute nightmare. Now, this one is the one that I have to highlight here, though, because outside of anything else, this is the type of attitudes we've had lately. Just wear a blank mask, Lana. It's not that hard, OMG. First of all, she's wearing a mask. What are you on about? This is a mask. Maybe it's not the right mask according to you, but this is a mask. Get over it. It's a mask. Now, she's clearly wearing something underneath right here. Now, this next one is, why is she even at an event with a bunch of people wearing a mesh mask? I love Lana, but this is incredibly irresponsible. She's wearing something underneath. She's socially distant. And plus, these people wearing masks too. They should protect them too. The story keeps changing about what these masks are actually supposed to prevent you or other people from you. it keeps changing day to day. All of a sudden, like, oh, it doesn't protect you, but it tests against other people from you. Then all of a sudden, oh, the reason why you caught it is because you weren't wearing a mask. Really? What? So the storyline keeps changing here. Now, while others argued that she had a clear protective mask underneath, which she does, the mesh covering, which the star is yet to confirm is true. She doesn't have to because you could clearly see it. One person said this: guys, the mask has a translucent layer underneath the mesh. Please calm down. Which this guy is wearing Squidward. I have no idea why he's using Squidward here. Oh my god, someone please tell me there is a clear sheet behind G. What? The lace on Lana's mask. Spelling in context. And they said there is, and they're highlighting where that exists here. I'm not sure what they're highlighting, to be quite honest with you, but let me see. No, they're not showing that. And Lana Del Ray's sister Chuck confirms that Lana was more than 6 feet away from other people at the event. A few fans cited the social distancing rule, and she is also tested negative for COVID-19. If she tested negative and she's socially distant, why do you care what she is wearing at that point? And of course, I gotta find it here where Chuck said she's more than 6 feet away and she's tested negative, so chill. People are saying to calm down. And Daily Mail goes on to say that she has been criticized before wearing a similar mesh covering in September for the cover of Interview magazine. And that Mail Online has contacted a representative for comment, and she is yet to address this. And to this point, this was on October the 3rd, I believe, and she is yet to comment on it. First of all, yes, she is wearing a facial covering. She's wearing something underneath of that. But even if she wasn't, I'm not quite sure why this is a big deal here. Because, quite frankly, everybody keeps saying, oh, something's better than nothing. Yet they keep changing it when somebody actually wears something they don't approve of. This has to be the right facial covering. It has to be the right thing. Now, why am I saying that this is going to be cancel culture? Well, there's one particular place on the social media spectrum that we don't really talk about that much. We talk about Twitter, we talk about Facebook, we talk about all these are so awful places, they're very toxic. No one talks about Reddit. No one really talks about Reddit that much. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because I want to talk about this topic. This post. What you're looking at right now is r/coronavirus. Now, if you look through some of these particular posts, you will see something very peculiar. You will see that a lot of these are about, oh, this bike was not wearing a mask, or this wasn't wearing a mask. Masks are so good at handling this coronavirus. It was proven that masks do so good. Or Dr. Fauci this, Dr. Fauci that. This has become so toxic because if you've never really looked at Reddit, at the very least with Twitter and with Facebook, they cannot bury your post. They could probably shadow ban your posts or remove them, but you'll know that something got removed. You'll know something got shadow banned. You know something got taken down. And it'll show you, hey, we removed this or whatever. You don't really see it on a Reddit because everybody has the ability to downvote posts. And if you downvote something so much, it can get buried or it can be hidden or it could go down on the page. And you can sort them, but the default is sorted by best or top or new, whatever, controversial or whatever have you. And this got put onto Reddit, and ever since this got advertised by Reddit as being the place to go for coronavirus discussion, it suddenly got extremely toxic. You could see about 6 different posts of the same type of story if it's going with the narrative. If it's going against the narrative, they will suddenly enforce their rules. It is selective enforcing, or like a double standard in this case. But you could probably see right now what we're talking about when we deal with what these guys are saying. This is like the reset era of coronavirus. It's that bad right now. And yeah, I mean, if stuff like this is getting upvoted and some very well thought out post gets downvoted to oblivion, you will understand what I'm talking about here. I don't know what else to say about that. You can go on there yourself and you can see just what I'm talking about when we talk about Reddit. Because Reddit is the one place where people can actually bot you. And actually bot downvoting. People use bots, and you can definitely see if your post gets downvoted by 300 within seconds, like mine usually does when I try to post here. You'll understand why I believe that this is a big deal. When you can't have a nuanced discussion because people will do whatever they can in order to bury any kind of dissenting viewpoint. And that's really the big problem I have with this. It's not necessarily that we have a discussion. We should have a discussion. It's that people get so crazy about simple face coverings. And here's the thing. Here's what I'm concerned about the most. It is that we are not giving respect to the other side. No one really thinks that this is a hoax. No one really thinks it's made up. It is real. We have a real novel coronavirus out there, and it's hitting us like an absolute truck. Okay, so let's not get carried away by saying, oh, it's a hoax and stuff like that. Yeah, it's real. We understand it's real. We get it. But it's also getting exploited. And it's also getting exploited by people on both sides of the political spectrum because of what we are dealing with. We're dealing with election here. We're dealing with one of the worst presidents that we've ever had. We're dealing with somebody who's been known to have very, very polarizing statements of viewpoints in our president. So it is no doubt that we want to get rid of him. But at the same time, we should be getting rid of him in the right way. And I was for the impeachment proceedings because I think he did something wrong and stuff like that. But the amount of ways that people have been trying to get rid of this president is unbelievable. Let's get rid of him at the ballot box in November. Let's not get carried away and start labeling everybody or making something out to be, hey, we are in solidarity and a political viewpoint. And I believe that's what masks are becoming. They're becoming, hey, if you are a Trump supporter, then you're not wearing a mask. If you are a Biden supporter, you should be wearing a mask. If you're not wearing a mask, then we're going to automatically label you as a Trump supporter. That should not be what the masks are for. That should not be what not wearing masks is for. There are people on the left who are against the lockdowns and the masks because they feel as though it is being detrimental to people's mental health or other illnesses such as asthma, like that one person who got tased she clearly had that. She clearly could have had something accommodated for her to make sure she was still able to enjoy what she wanted to enjoy, but people wanted this virtue signal. They wanted their 15 minutes of fame. They wanted to show that, hey, we're doing the right thing. How is that doing the right thing? To see somebody getting tased or somebody getting kicked off an American Airlines because their taller couldn't wear a mask. Why is that celebrated? Why is that the right thing to do? Please tell me where the right thing to do about that is. That's not the right thing to do. Where in any of that is correct? Yet, we're celebrating that daily. We're celebrating the closure of theaters or buffets because we don't like them. Yet, there are people who work there daily who depend on that in order to provide food on the table. Why are we celebrating that? Why are we getting so crazy over this? Remember, when this first hit in March, you know what we did? Do you remember what we did? We hoarded toilet paper. That's what we did. This is the type of people we're talking about here. These are the types of people who are now going ape you know what over masks. And here's the thing. If you are high risk, if you have a compromised immune system, then of course, maybe you should take the necessary precautions. And I'm for the voluntary wearing on them. However, mandates don't need to be. I don't believe we need to have mandates. I don't believe there should be a mandate for that because I do believe it is a medical situation. And we could talk all about asymptomatic people. We could talk about whether or not asymptomatic people are contagious or not. And I don't believe that there's sufficient evidence to suspect that asymptomatic people are contagious. There's scientific evidence to show that perhaps masks are not necessarily effective, and you could probably go on several subreddits, and I said subreddits, or some subreddits are cancer, but other subreddits are really good at providing a alternative point of view, but they do get attacked a lot. Why? Because they're not following the narrative. And we could probably go into detail, of course, in another video about how the numbers can be skewed in order to favor the number of cases, number of deaths, that we number chase, that we're not taking into account why the numbers are how they are and stuff like that, and why the numbers should be scrutinized and put through the ringer. We could talk about that all freaking day, and I don't want to get too much into this, but here's the thing. If she was social distancing, if she was doing all of that, then what is the problem with her taking her mask off in order to read the book to people? It's very hard, and take it from me, it's very hard to talk with that mask on. It's like a muffle in a way, especially with certain types of masks. Maybe those translucent masks are hard to talk through, and so she has to take it off a little bit in order to talk to people. That's kind of okay. We have to stop being so scared of things, and we have to stop fear-mongering. The other thing is that, yeah, Barnes & Noble, if they had a problem with her being there and holding this event, then they would have done something about it. And if the state of California had a problem with it, they would have done something. How strict that state is right now in correlation with Florida, who just said open everything up, they would have done something. Yet they'd never said anything. She would have to have gotten some form of approval from somebody to hold the event. If the state of California said, okay, you're fine, or LA said you were fine, then the problem isn't with her, it's with the state of California or LA or wherever it was. Thus, I don't see the problem here. I don't see the big issue here. I don't see the big problem with this here. I don't see the big problem with the mesh mask, because also we're saying something is better than nothing. She's wearing something on the nose and mouth. If that's the case, then we need to leave her alone. Now, if she was sitting there coughing through the whole thing, if she was sneezing, coughing through the whole thing, and she had a high fever or something like that, okay, maybe you have a case. But she tested negative. And now you're going to keep testing and testing and testing until you get that positive thing you were looking for. That, to me, is so telling of how we are right now. And there probably needs to be another video for me about how utterly ridiculous we're getting. But we need to calm down. We need to calm down. We need to stop being dicks about this. If you see somebody who is being treated unfairly, and you see someone without a mask who is claiming, hey, I can't wear it because of X, A, B, and C, then offer them an alternative, like maybe send them where they're not as close to other people. That's all it takes. It's not that hard to do that either. Maybe it's not hard to wear a mask, but it's not that hard to accommodate with somebody who might have a problem. Remember, outside, if you're not socially distant, if you're able to socially distance in a public spectrum in an outside venue, okay, maybe you can forego the mask. And there's some places that have the mask mandate outdoors as well, which even people who are for the mandates indoors, they might have a problem with them outdoors because they don't feel as though it is that potent outdoors. But we need to have a better attitude about this. We have to stop going after people. We gotta stop putting these phones in everybody's faces and going after people because they're not wearing them. If they're minding their own business, if they're just doing their shopping, if they're just trying to enjoy something outdoors, leave them alone. Just go about your business. There's nothing there that is saying that you have to shame people. That's a real mask hole. That's not what Urban Dictionary is trying to put up to the top of the pile on their definitions. That's what a real person who's called mask hole is doing. They're shaming people for wearing a mask. That's what being a doomer is, hey, this is going to hell in a handbasket if we don't all do our part, but we're going to shame you if you don't do your part. We're going to be as distant as ever. We shouldn't use masks as a form of political solidarity for one candidate or the other. We have to be smarter than that. There are masks out there that have Trump 2020, or there are MAGA masks out there, or MAGA masks out there. We need to be smarter than this. We really need to be smarter, and we need to have our humanity back from this. That's all I got to say for now. Please go subscribe for more geek gaming culture. Ring that bell for notifications about new videos. I'll try to get stuff up as quickly as possible. And I might talk more about the idea of masks maybe not being as effective as maybe some other people would have you believe. There's some other YouTubers who might just be getting scared of the algorithm, or trying to say, oh, they work, and they're not even questioning the science of it all, which is science. It's supposed to be criticized, because that's what scientists do. They always try to find something else. And yeah, maybe Lana Del Ray is now doing time. Screw you, r/coronavirus. There are better places out there than that. My name is Shady Shadow, and that just happened.